All right. Well, welcome everyone to today's call. This is the fourth session of our Open Source Tools Trials series, and it's focused on using GitHub and Bitergia for research and developer communities. My name is Emily, and I am a project and community manager at CSCCE, and I'll be facilitating today's call with our communications director and content archivist, Katie Pratt. The presentation portion of this call will be recorded, but the Q&A will not be. So we'll start with just a little bit of background about CSCCE. We champion the importance of human infrastructure for effective collaboration in STEM by providing training and support for the people who make collaboration succeed, and those are scientific community managers. And we do this by developing and publishing resources, providing professional development opportunities, convening a community of practice that is now comprised of over 600 community managers, and conducting research. So the tools trial that we're hosting today is just one example of the portfolio of programming that we offer to our community. And if you are interested in learning more about any of these offerings, you can email us at info@cscce.org. So our tools trials are intended to help STEM community managers explore various online tools. We began running tools trials in 2020 when the onset of the pandemic prompted a shift to virtual collaboration. And now, thanks to support from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, we've developed a series of trials focused on open source projects, tools, and platforms to facilitate collaboration and convening. We'll also be producing a series of tip sheets to consolidate what we learned. And you can find recordings of demos on our YouTube channel, as well as recap blog posts of past trials on our website. So far in this series, in call 1, we were introduced to 3 ways in which community managers use GitHub to organize community activities. And those are our Open Sides community calls, Data Umbrella's community blog, and the Touring Ways Book Dash. And we also learned about using Jekyll to host websites. In the second call, we learned how the Carpentries uses GitHub to organize sessions for CarpentryCon and HedgeDoc for collaborative note-taking. And in the third call, we were introduced to Open Review as a platform for open peer review of program submissions. And again, you can get recaps and recordings of these 3 calls on our blog. So today we'll be taking collaborative notes in a Google Doc, which has been shared in the chat. You'll find our community participation guidelines, core values, and virtual event safety policies at the top. And throughout today's presentations, we invite you to provide your name and affiliation on the doc, answer our opening prompts, take notes, and jot down questions. Today, we have 4 guest speakers, and we plan to hold questions for them until the presentations are over. We ask that you please leave your questions in the notes doc rather than in the chat to help us moderate the Q&A and so that speakers can respond in writing. And if you have resources to share, you're welcome to include them in the resources section at the end. We would appreciate it if you could take just a couple of minutes at the end of today's session to complete our very brief survey to share with us what you learned from today's session and any feedback that you have for us. If you're new to our community, we invite you to join our Slack workspace where you can connect with other community managers. And you may also consider joining our open source special interest group, which is co-led by Sarah Petty of the Open Knowledge Foundation and Bree Johns from the Gathering for Open Source Hardware. You can also sign up for our mailing list so that you can stay tuned about our upcoming programming. So today's guest speakers will be sharing how they use GitHub for collaborating on technical documentation, GitHub Teams for managing contributor access, and Bitergia for collecting analytics. And we'll wrap up with a Q&A and discussion. Again, throughout today's session, we value your active participation in the form of adding useful links, resources, reflections, notes, and questions to the collaborative doc. Our speakers for today are Sanket Verma, Community Manager of XAR, Julia Kohler-Lehman, Open Rosetta Project Director at the Open Molecular Software Foundation, Paul Nagy, Associate Professor at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, and Georg Link from Bitergia. Before we start today's presentations, I'll pause for just a few minutes to allow you to respond to the 2 opening reflection prompts we included in the notes doc if you haven't done so already. We invite you to share your level of familiarity with GitHub and Bitergia, as well as your motivation for attending today's session. And if you're comfortable doing so, you're welcome to leave your name next to your comment, as we might refer back to it during the Q&A. We also invite you to +1 other comments that resonate with you. So with that, I will pause and we can do some reflecting. All right, so we're able to stay on schedule today and make sure our speakers have enough time. I'm going to bring us back, but you're welcome to continue writing your reflections. So briefly, I see that we have a lot of folks on the call today who are familiar with GitHub, and we have less familiarity with GitHub Teams and Bitergia. So with that, we can transition to our speaker demos, and our first speaker for today will be Sanket.